The house on Hollow Ridge. Follow the rules, or it follows you. It started with a dare. My brother Matt, always the thrill seeker, found a post on some obscure paranormal forum about a place called Hollow Ridge. The story was vague, urban legend mixed with internet creepypasta, but it claimed that deep in the Appalachian woods, there was a house that only appeared to those who deserved to find it. The catch? If you saw it, you were already being watched. Matt laughed it off. I didn't. Not after what happened last summer. We went camping in the ridge one weekend with two friends, Justine and Derek. It was quiet. Eerily so. No birds, no bugs, no wind, just silence that pressed into your ears like cotton. Matt thought it was perfect. We'll find it tonight, he said with a grin. He had printed out a crumpled piece of paper he called the survival list. Scribbled in red ink were these rules. 1. Do not knock on the front door. The house will let you in when it's ready. 2. If you hear your name whispered from the woods, don't answer. It's not your friend. 3. Don't bring any mirrors. Don't look into any mirrors. 4. If something is standing in the hallway, don't blink. Blinking gives it permission. 5. Before you leave, say your name 3 times at the front steps. If you forget, it comes home with you. At first, we thought it was all a joke. Then around midnight, the fog rolled in, thick as soup, swallowing our lanterns. The trees around us bent in strange directions, forming what looked like an arch. Beyond it, through the haze, was a 2-story colonial house, peeling white paint, slanted porch, every window black. Told you, Matt shouted and ran toward it. I tried to stop him, but my feet wouldn't move. I felt like the forest itself was holding me. The house let us in. The door creaked open without a touch. We didn't knock. Inside, everything was coated in dust but untouched, like someone had just stepped out. The air smelled like mold and rusted iron. Justine swore she saw something standing at the end of the hallway upstairs, tall, pale, unmoving. We didn't blink. We stared until it slowly turned and walked out of sight. That was the first time I felt the house notice us. Matt ignored the rules. He brought his phone, which had a mirrored screen. He looked into it, trying to take a selfie in front of a broken vanity in one of the rooms. I remember hearing his gasp, then silence. When we found him, he was frozen in place, eyes wide, phone shattered at his feet. He wouldn't talk. Wouldn't move. Not even when we shook him. We tried to leave, but the door was gone. Just wall. The house shifted around us, like it was breathing. The rules became law. We heard our names whispered from the attic. Derek called back, once. Something dragged him into the shadows and he never screamed. Just a wet, tearing sound, and then silence again. Justine and I followed the rules obsessively after that. We never blinked when we saw the pale thing. We didn't speak unless absolutely necessary. We waited until the house grew tired of our stillness, until it finally gave us a door again. We ran. But I forgot one thing. I was too focused on surviving, too desperate to escape. I didn't say my name 3 times on the steps. I didn't think it mattered. But now I know better. It followed me home. Every night since, I hear footsteps in the hallway, soft, dragging. My bedroom mirror fogs over by itself. I see myself blink, but I'm not the one blinking. And last night, I woke up to the sound of something whispering my name. Not from outside, but from underneath my bed. So please, if you ever find yourself on Hollow Ridge, remember these rules. Do not break them. The house doesn't forgive. And it never forgets. Say your name 3 times. Or it learns it for you. I didn't sleep after that first night. I couldn't. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the hallway from Hollow Ridge. Not a memory of it, the actual hallway, flickering like a film strip in the back of my mind. And something was walking down it. Slow. Deliberate. Closer. I began to notice other things too. My reflection started to behave wrong. It blinked at the wrong times. It smiled when I didn't. Once, brushing my teeth, I turned away from the mirror and saw, out of the corner of my eye, my reflection still facing forward, still watching me. I tried to write it off as stress. Hallucinations. Survivor's guilt. But then Matt showed up at my door. He had disappeared at the house. Frozen, catatonic. We left him behind. We had to. But now, he was standing outside my apartment, barefoot, wearing the same clothes, covered in grime, staring blankly at the peephole. I didn't want to open the door. My hands trembled on the lock. But he was my brother. I let him in. He didn't speak. Just walked to the corner of my living room, sat down, and faced the wall. I tried to ask him what happened, where he'd been, if he remembered anything. No response. He only moved once that night, to stand over me while I slept on the couch. I woke up to his face inches from mine. Eyes glassy. Mouth slightly open, like he was trying to form words but forgot how. The next morning, he was gone. In his place, scratched into the wall, were 3 words. "You never said it." From that day on, the rules became etched into my life. Not just the ones we were given, new ones. New rules that the house whispered to me when I was most vulnerable. They'd come while I was half asleep, or when the static on the TV started forming patterns that looked like doorways. 1. Never walk backward in your apartment after 3:33 a.m. It follows from behind. 2. Don't answer the phone if your own voice is on the other end. 3. If you see someone you know standing motionless outside your window, wait. The real one will call soon. 4. Don't speak your name out loud after dark. It already knows your voice. It just needs confirmation. I started to think I was cursed. But then I found a subreddit, a small thread buried in a decade-old archive of r/NoSleep, from someone describing the same house. Different time. Different people. But the same rules. And in the comments, someone wrote, "It doesn't haunt the house. The house is how it haunts you." I stopped going to work. Couldn't hold a job when I was too afraid to blink. Too afraid to sleep. I boarded up every mirror. Covered windows with blackout curtains. But the entity, it didn't care. It didn't need light. It didn't need space. It only needed my name. And I had forgotten to give it up on that porch. A few nights ago, the whispers got worse. Not just from under the bed, from inside the walls. My name, repeated slowly, dragging the syllables like someone learning to speak. Ja-sun. Jazzoon. And then laughter. Not loud. Not manic. Just delighted. Like it was proud of how well it was learning. Last night, I hit my limit. I ran. Packed a bag, left my apartment at 2 a.m., checked into a motel 5 towns over. No phone. No electronics. Just analog everything. I didn't even tell anyone where I was going. Didn't matter. At 3:33 a.m., I woke up. Not because of a sound, but because I saw myself standing at the foot of the bed. A perfect copy. Clothes, posture, even the scar on my chin. Except it had no eyes. Just smooth skin, like wax. And it smiled. It opened its mouth. No teeth. Just darkness. And in a voice that sounded like me, twisted and echoing, it whispered. "Say your name. Jason. Say it for me. Or I will." I screamed. Ran to the bathroom. Locked the door. I could still hear it behind the thin motel wall, scratching. Laughing. Saying my name over and over. When I finally looked up into the bathroom mirror, it was already inside. My reflection waved. Then it opened its mouth again. And I heard it say my name from behind me. I don't know how much time I have left. But I've learned something. It can't take me if I give myself up first. If I speak my name. If I claim it. That's why I'm writing this here. If you see this post, know that I'm going to Hollow Ridge tonight. I'm going to stand on that porch and scream my name until the trees echo with it. Because if I don't, it becomes me. I used to think horror stories ended when the monster caught you. That was the climax, the final breath before the screen went black or the last page curled shut. But I was wrong. That's not where it ends. That's where it begins. Because I didn't go back to Hollow Ridge that night. I wanted to. I packed the car. I even drove halfway there. But something stopped me at the tree line, something I couldn't name. Not fear. Something deeper. It felt like the woods were already inside me. Like the house had left a seed behind that was now blooming in the back of my skull. The sky looked wrong, too deep, too still. The stars weren't stars. They were eyes. So I turned around. I thought I could outsmart it. Maybe burn the clothes I wore that night. Destroy every object I brought back. Delete the photos from my phone. Yes, I took some. No, I didn't look at them again. The shadows in them weren't mine. But here's the problem, it doesn't need objects to travel. It only needs identity. And I gave it mine the moment I stepped inside that house. That was the real trap, not the whispers, not the mirrors, not even the thing in the hallway. It wants to be remembered. And it wants to wear your face while it's remembered. Over the next few days, people stopped recognizing me. My neighbor, Ms. Clary, who always chatted with me on the way to the elevator, squinted like I was a stranger. At the grocery store, the cashier asked for my ID twice. My bank locked my card for suspicious activity. I looked the same, but something was off. Something in my voice, my eyes, the way I moved. It was stealing me in pieces. One night I found a note on my kitchen table, written in my handwriting. "You're the copy now." That broke something in me. I locked myself in the apartment, covered every surface with chalk lines, circles of salt, old family photographs. I stopped answering calls. Not because I didn't trust others, but because I didn't trust myself. I'd look in the mirror and something would seem a second behind, like my reflection had to catch up. Sometimes I'd talk to myself out loud just to prove I was still me. But the voice that answered back wasn't always in sync. One night, the lights went out. Total darkness. And in that perfect black, I heard it breathing. Not loud. Not monstrous. Just like me. When the lights flickered back on, there were two of me in the room. I ran. I didn't grab anything. I didn't lock the door. I just ran down the hallway, barefoot, in the dead of night. And as I sprinted down the street, I heard it screaming behind me, but not in rage. Not in pain. It was screaming my name, like it was trying it on for size. Jason. 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 I found myself back in the woods 3 hours later. I don't remember how. The last streetlight I passed was blinking Morse code into the void. Every shadow between the trees looked like a doorway. I stood at the edge of Hollow Ridge, the fog already pooling around my feet, and this time, the house was waiting. The door was open. Just like before. No knocking. Just invitation. Inside, everything was frozen in time. Cobwebs like veins. Wallpaper peeling like old skin. And in the center of the living room was a mirror, 7 feet tall, framed in black wood. Carved across the top, "Behold thyself." I didn't want to. God, I didn't want to. But something moved in the glass. Not me. A better me. A cleaner smile. Straighter posture. Warmer eyes. And it was waving me forward like an old friend. I screamed my name. Over and over. Until blood filled my throat. Until the floorboards shook. Until the thing in the mirror winced and began to crack. I said it backwards. Forwards. Screamed it in whispers. Until the house itself trembled like it was in pain. And then. Silence. No whispering. No footsteps. Just cold. I stumbled outside at dawn. Fell to my knees on the porch. Said my name 3 more times, just to be sure. Just to be safe. But I wasn't. Because something followed me anyway. Not in form. Not in shadow. But in memory. Now people call me Jason again. They smile at me like normal. My bank account works. My voice is my own. But the reflection is still slightly off. Sometimes when I speak, my words echo with just a hint of someone else's laughter behind them. And when I dream, I don't see the house anymore. I see you. So listen carefully. If you're reading this, you're already part of the story. That's how it spreads. Through names. Through memories. Through the telling of the tale. And now it knows your name. Better start practicing how to say it 3 times. Just in case.